Hey there, everyone. How you doing today? As mentioned in our daily financial news, I have a special guest this Sunday afternoon. It is the one, the only, the legend, Jeb Smith. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you for making some time this Sunday. I know every day is busy, especially weekends for an experienced real estate agent and dad like yourself. So thanks for the time.
No, man, it was a crazy morning, but I was able to get away, and yeah, I'm looking forward to a good conversation.
Very cool. Well, I thought what you and I should talk about is Southern California real estate, right? And I was hoping to do that kind of, let's rewind the clock to kind of last March or April, then kind of walk us through what we've seen because it's been wild. And I have a sneaky feeling the next 12 months may be just as wild, but on a different perspective. But before we do that, introduce my audience to who is Jeb Smith, because not only do you have a massive real estate history and experience, a big YouTube channel. So tell us about yourself first.
So been in real estate nearly 18 years. Came from the East Coast, North Carolina, in 2002. Jumped right into real estate. Actually started on the mortgage lending side, and did that for 10 to 12 years at the same time, simultaneously doing real estate. Things transitioned, with housing and all of that good stuff in 2006 to 2008.
Mhm.
Didn't really enjoy the lending side quite as much anymore, just
Yeah,
because
I
the
bet.
pendulum swung the other direction, and I was more of a counselor than I was a mortgage professional and what have you. And started selling REOs. Had some good
Ooh,
connections.
yeah.
Started in the REO business. Sold a lot for Fannie Mae, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, all of those guys. So did a lot of foreclosures during that time and transitioned 100% into real estate. Still, keeping my finger on the pulse of mortgage lending, because again, the two are tied hand
Oh,
in
yeah.
hand, and I feel like honestly that's an asset for any client that I have, because I understand the finance side of things. I can walk them through, because we'll go a little bit forward here. Created a YouTube channel a couple of years ago, and from the basis of educating, base buyers, sellers, just the basic consumer, anybody looking to buy a house, and even those that own housing
Mhm.
in the housing market, because I see a lack of education out there when I'm working with buyers, when I'm working with sellers. And that's where I feel like having a background in the finance side actually helps out as well, because a lot of times, even on the mortgage side, these buyers and what have you aren't getting counseled. They're not
Mm.
getting the proper education in a lot of the stuff that's happening, and so I can kind of fill in those gaps, and help them understand it. So that's the premise of my business. I mean, I enjoy real estate. I enjoy helping first time home buyers, but I also enjoy the education process,
Mhm.
and allowing people to actually understand what they're doing, what they're getting into, and trying to get a better grasp of just housing in general.
I think having that background is kind of what makes your content so well-rounded, right? You're not coming at everything from, hey, I'm a real estate agent or a broker, and look at how pretty the crown molding is. You wrap in that experience that really you're signing up for most people for their largest investment or purchase of their entire life. So having that background is extremely valuable. So, and it comes through on your content. Your content is top notch. So congratulations.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, everybody says, "Well, you were part of the problem. You were in the mortgage lending business back in." Yeah, I mean, I was there, and quite frankly, we saw the problems. I mean,
I'm sure the files. Yeah.
we knew there were going to be
Oh
issues. I
yeah.
mean, whereas that's different than now, right? We knew back then there were definitely going to be issues that were going to be, mainstream, or going to cause a lot of turmoil. We just didn't know when they were going to happen, and quite frankly, it happened a little sooner than we thought at that time, just because things were still going strong, and then just
Just
immediately turned off. and,
yeah.
and it,
It
and
was
it was a
amazing.
global deal, right? It wasn't just the US and what have you. But I feel like we're in a different environment now, for many reasons, but I'm sure we can talk about that as
Yeah,
well.
you know what? Let's just dive into that first. I think one of the biggest things when I hear these, anybody who's been in real estate 5 years, it,
Right.
it's frustrating to listen to, right? Because they've only known a market like this.
Absolutely.
They've never seen lending turn off, right? They maybe have experienced. They thought 2018's tightening was tight. I'm like, are
Right.
you kidding me? That was what? Really? That was tight? Okay, whatever. But yeah, I mean, the loan products that are being done today and have been done the last, frankly, 2 or 3 years are completely different than what was done 06, 07.
Oh,
time frame.
absolutely. I mean, I have clients right now that are super well qualified in many facets, whether it's, down payment, or maybe they're not, the down payment isn't necessarily, more than 20%, but they've got $2 million in the bank. I mean, so these people are financially in a good position, and the hoops that they're having to jump through to get basic financing with high
Yeah.
credit scores and everything. I mean, they're looking at me going, dude, why are they asking? And I'm, listen, it's just part of the process. So,
That's right.
I
Yeah.
mean, nothing I can do, but it just shows you that, there's a lot more. There's actually, a checklist in
Oh
place
yeah.
now. Whereas in that, it was a heyday, right? I mean, it was kind of, you
The wild, wild west.
account rep, if you, and they would say, well, let me go to my manager and see if we can get that approved.
Mhm.
And they'd come back and go, oh yeah, we'll do it. And you're like, oh, okay. And,
Yeah.
and it was, I mean, the guidelines were already super lenient then, but you could even get things through that were even more lenient than what the guidelines permitted. So
Yeah.
again, completely different environment than what's going on now.
Yeah. And really, again, both of us have experience pre-crash. So the one thing that I don't see coming is, yeah, we may have foreclosures or short sale. I'm not going to have that argument, but we won't have the cascading of debt blowing up, because these 2-year arms that were very common, right?
Exactly.
The 2 and 20, they won't cascade and build on each other and just become a series of dominoes that fall over. And we just have more inventory and more inventory and more
Right.
inventory coming, right?
No, I absolutely agree. I mean, I think, I'm from the perspective at the moment that if any property comes on the market less than fair market value, it's going to get picked up. It's going to
Yeah.
get picked up either by an investor looking for a stable return on their money,
Mhm.
trying to avoid a little bit of inflation that could be coming, or they're a homeowner or potential home buyer that's been in a multiple offer situation against multiple offers over and over again. And now there's an opportunity to go for a property that's less expensive than fair market value. Yeah, of course they're going to go for
Right.
that if it fits the mold. Now, that you have the people saying, well, there's going to be hundreds and thousands of these at one time. Yeah, maybe. I mean, you're talking
No chance.
nationwide.
Come on now.
Right. No, well, no, I mean, not I mean, I think hundreds of thousands, but maybe
Yeah.
thousands over the course
Yeah.
of the United States
Oh, for
in
sure. The
different areas.
US. Yeah.
Different, yeah. I mean, different markets and different cities and different states handling that foreclosure process completely different. I mean, we're in Southern California.
Mhm.
It's a litigious state to begin with. You've got all of these factors that played into what the reason that these people were
Mhm.
actually able to not make payments for whatever reason, if you want to throw the forbearance deal in there.
Mhm.
And there's just, you know, California is already careful in how they handle stuff to begin with. They're very
Yeah.
tenant friendly, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
They are going to, this is going to be something that takes years for them to play out. The court
Oh,
system's already backed up
yeah.
in just normal activity because they weren't able to get through these things. And then you throw potential eviction. I mean, there's just so many things that are going to play into this. And we've got an administration that wants to help people out,
Mhm.
good, bad, and different, however you view it.
Yeah.
It's the reality. And
Mhm.
so factor that in there as well. This isn't something that,
Yeah.
in 6 months, you're going to see, all of this stuff come to the market and the dynamic completely change because of that.
Yeah. Let's just talk about Southern California in this
Yep.
aspect, because I agree, right? There could be tens of thousands of foreclosure short sales coming if you look at the country. But yeah, when you look at California, and let's not forget, I mean, you may know this, but I don't think most of the audience knows this. In the last crisis, actually, I'll ask you, do you know what the average foreclosure time frame was from when the NOD was filed to that owner was out of their house?
If I guess, I would say somewhere between 2 and 3 years.
Yeah, it was 700 days,
Okay.
725. Yeah,
Yeah.
about 2 years. You nailed it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so first off, if it went that direction again, which I don't think it will, but if it did, you're looking at what, 2023, 2024 before any meaningful inventory comes up.
Correct.
But that's why it's going to be different this time. Again, I love the fact that we've been through this. Last time the answer was, if you wanted the bank to talk to you, you have to be late 90 days. They just
Right.
wouldn't talk to you until then. Now they're sending you emails saying, are you an issue? Check this box. You can go into forbearance. It's completely different than last time. Banks are acting different. So much so that I actually heard from a loan broker this morning that 30% of his new loans are going into forbearance in the first 90 days, which
Oh
is
wow.
made me scratch my head. I mean, that is, they're
Yeah,
making
and
it too easy.
yeah, and I think, I mean, if we look at that from a bird's eye view, those people don't need to be in
You
forbearance.
don't think so? Yeah.
Yeah, I
Especially
mean,
now, new loans today. Yeah.
right. I mean, and one of the things you sign, as you're signing loan docs in this market is essentially that I mean, it's not that you're not going to do it forbearance, but that you're financially sound. I mean, these people just got qualified, so they should be in a
Exactly.
position to make payments, and we're far enough out of,
Yeah.
um, the pandemic that a lot of the job losses that are going to happen have happened for
Right.
the most part. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
there will be further, but you've lost. I mean, from a majority standpoint, the majority of them have happened.
Yeah, and
So
again, this
I don't.
this loan broker is tracking it now because obviously in today's environment, they get paid, they have a commission. I don't think it's a
Yep.
secret that loan brokers are paid. He has to return those proceeds
Yeah.
if it goes into forbearance in the first 90 days. He's like, Michael, 3 out of 10 loans the last 3 or 4 months have been going into forbearance. Banks are making it too easy, right?
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
it's just
Well,
consumer behavior. It's pretty
and you've got the CFPB, right? The
Yep.
CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. They're on these servicers' butt right now to make sure that they cooperate with
Mhm.
homeowners, to make sure that they are doing everything in their power to make sure that the last time doesn't happen again. And
Yeah.
last time I'm referring to 2006 to 2008. So there's so many measures in place to keep that from happening again. If the shoe drops, it's not because of that,
No, yeah. And
in my
that's
opinion.
and last time the word the new word or new phrase was strategic default, which I'm sure
Right.
you know about.
Yep.
Today's
Yep.
word is avoidable foreclosures.
Yep.
So back to Southern California, there will be, I don't know, 92 to 96% of the people that haven't paid will just get a lump sum second shoved on the back, this invisible second, no interest, no payments,
Right.
and they'll just start making their payments. So there won't
Yep.
be any foreclosures to speak of, in my opinion, in Southern California.
Yeah. I mean, and again, if there are, there's going to be people that buy them,
Yeah.
right? I mean, especially if there's, the problem I have is everybody thinks foreclosure and they immediately think I get a deal.
Yeah.
Get a deal,
Yeah.
right? Because it's foreclosure. These people couldn't make their payments. I'm going to get a deal on that property. And the reality is that's not going to happen.
No.
So for one, the lenders know that they're in a market right now with low supply, high buyer demand. They have no reason to price a property below market value to try to get rid of it. The last crisis, there were 10 and a half months of supply.
Yeah.
So they had to price things to sell them, right? I mean, that was now you have less than 2 months supply in most markets. And
Yeah.
so they're not in a position where they have to give properties away. They're in a position where they can sell them for what they're worth.
Mhm.
And now you might get some properties that need rehab that have been completely destroyed because people are mad or they
Mhm.
just didn't take care of them or whatever.
Mhm.
And in those cases, maybe, but it still requires, those a lot of those, if it's not financeable, then it requires a cash deal. I guess who buys cash property most times?
Mhm.
Investors. It's
Yeah.
not, most home buyers aren't sitting around on,
Mhm.
in Southern California, 700,000 in cash in most cases. So
Yeah.
again, it's a discussion that, we could beat each over the head with for hours and hours. And I
Yeah.
have actually had, I mean, I've had this conversation so many times.
Yeah.
But we'll see, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
hard to
It's
say what's
just,
going to happen.
it's not, well, it's not hard at all. It's just not going to happen. The people that are talking about a 40% price decline are either going for the easy clicks or are idiots. And I guess I'll let them pick which one they want to be because it's not coming.
No, I agreed 100%.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's rewind the clock a little bit because again, we both went through something this last 14 months that you and I have never seen, right? We're not
Mhm.
120 years old or whatever it is. We haven't seen this pandemic before. So you come into January, you're in January, it's a normal month probably. You're doing deals, listing, selling. Then, when does your business see it the first time? Is it a listing that somebody takes off? Is it buyers not showing up to open houses? When do you start saying, hey, this might be something that's, not just in the media, it's actually coming to Southern California?
It's funny because, January and February of 2020 were really strong months.
Mm,
If you looked at the data, we were on track to have one of the strongest housing markets
yeah,
that we've had in the last 5, 6 years. I
I
mean,
remember.
and
Yeah.
it resulted as that, but in a different dynamic, right? Because of
Yeah.
other reasons. But January, February, super strong months. I was on track to have a good year. March happened, and quite frankly, like, I'd stopped watching the news before all of this took place. Like
Mhm.
I used to be a regular news watcher, and was proud of, I knew everything going on in the world and all of that, and kind of stopped watching
Yeah.
it. And
It's healthy.
and
Yeah, don't
honestly,
watch.
yeah, no, I mean, it's been great because I mean,
Yeah.
I in March of last year stopped entirely.
Mm.
But with that said, like I didn't really know that I knew nothing of this
Mm.
virus, right?
Okay.
And so March happened, started, people talking about it or whatever. And then it was talks of shutting things down. And clearly I was making jokes of it and
Yeah.
being light of it because I had no idea and really no idea that they could shut the world down. I mean,
Right.
if you would
We
have
never
asked,
been through it. Yeah. It's like,
could you do this? I would have said, no chance you could do that. I mean, there's no way they could make you stay home. And well, they did, right?
yep.
And to answer the question is, ours here, Southern California, I think it was Friday the 13th.
Oh, wow.
They shut schools down, and
Okay.
it was a 2-week deal, and it was on the news, and this is going to be the 2 weeks to
Yeah.
curb the whatever the saying was,
Yeah.
to stop the spread, if you will.
Yep.
And I had a listing in escrow. It was in Laguna Niguel, million plus listing, and the buyer got cold feet
Ah.
and wanted to renegotiate the deal. Like, no, not renegotiating the deal. And whatever, that buyer fell out of escrow. And I don't remember exactly what all I had going on at that time. Had a couple buyers looking for property. I don't remember listing wise.
Mm.
I had actually a flip opportunity that there
Okay.
was an investor involved. The investor was fine. So that one stayed in, but there was one buyer that got cold feet and then tried to renegotiate. And then things started to get hairy, right? So the deal fell out of escrow. We were putting it back on the market. And then, no open houses here in Southern California or in California in general, right?
Yeah.
They changed the
I,
policy, and
I remember.
it kept getting extended, right? So it went from 2 weeks to 4 weeks. And me, I started looking at it going, what am I going to do? Right. I
Mm.
mean, if they stop real estate entirely, right, I can't make money.
Mhm.
I've got savings, I've got 401ks, I've got all of that. But, how long can this go on? I mean, I don't like to bleed money every month. And so I started trying to figure out, like, what can I do?
Right.
And so I started doing honestly, I started doing a lot of content then in YouTube and started talking about topics. And that's really when my channel started to change. It's wild, because I had time to do things that I
Yeah.
didn't normally have to do. So I just started putting my time into content and
Very
reading a
cool.
lot and doing some other things. But as far as housing goes, it went on until probably late May.
Okay.
I had a buyer close escrow as a buyer. Well, I had a buyer close escrow as a buyer, of course.
I
A
got you.
buyer closed escrow in April of last year. So
Okay.
everybody else kind of dropped by the wayside. She was still good to go. She stayed strong. And quite frankly, probably the smartest decision she made,
Oh, yeah.
because
Look
the
at that.
market, I mean, has shifted probably 15-20%, in that house in that period of time.
Wow.
And then, the market started to get some steam again, and, stimulus rolling out and all this crazy stuff. And I would say from about end of May on,
Mhm.
it was just straight uphill, right? I mean,
Okay.
people couldn't find property, people, and the closer you got to the end of the year, the worse it got.
Ah.
And I didn't really realize how much the curve was steepening as far as price appreciation until really late December. Because we were starting to have a really hard time getting buyers into escrow. And
Mhm.
then from January of this year until now, it's been super, super difficult. I mean, writing a lot of offers,
Mm.
and almost every property has multiple offers going above the asking price. And you're just trying to figure out how you can strategize to set yourself apart.
Yeah. So that's where I want to get to now, because I have an opinion, or again, reading the tea leaves, and these are just tea leaves, so they're clearly wrong all the time. But I think one of the things that happened, so it'll be interesting to hear about Southern California, is last year, again, we'll call it May to December, a lot of would-be sellers didn't list,
Absolutely.
right? Don't touch my stuff. Not sure if my job's going to be here. Going to retreat from the market. Sit tight. So we're obviously coming out of this. You can argue when it is. I'm thinking we're out of this already. We're now going to have, I think we're going to have kind of 2 listing seasons in one, kind of starting in June. And, I was just curious, as somebody who's been in the business a long time, I mean, is that even possible? I mean, I think you're still struggling for listings is what I hear
Yeah.
you saying.
Yeah. So I looked at inventory on Thursday or Friday here in Orange County. So Orange County, most people know, about 3.3 million people or so. We
Okay.
had just over 2,100 active homes in all of Orange County, and that counts townhomes, condos. And that also incorporates here in Orange County multi-million-dollar luxury properties that most people can't touch even if they wanted to.
Right.
So you've got, out of 2,100 homes, you actually probably have less than 2,000.
Sure.
In a county of 3.3 million. In Huntington Beach, where I am, just over 200,000. We had 120-ish townhomes, condos, single families. So not a lot of inventory, right?
Yeah.
And just, I would say, month and a half ago, Orange County was about 2,400. Huntington Beach was about 140. We went from low hundreds up to about 140, 150. And now it's kind of retraced to the 120 mark or what have you. And then Orange County went up and kind of pulled back a little bit. But what I'm seeing is we have seen more inventory come on the market. No question. So more inventory has definitely come to the market, but buyer demand has also picked up. So,
really? Wow.
Yeah. And I don't know that it's picked up or it's just stayed the same.
Okay.
And now, because there's more opportunities for buyers to buy property, there, instead of the 5 properties, now there's 10. And so those buyers aren't necessarily bidding on the same ones, or maybe they are, but they're just putting out multiple offers and they're actually getting something accepted. So I see more inventory coming, but my inventory is not building because they're just going into escrow. And so I agree with you that there's a lot of buyers buyers, sellers, however you want to look at them, sitting on the sidelines wanting to sell for whatever reason. Maybe they think, maybe they're moving out of state. Maybe they just need a bigger house because of the pandemic. Who knows what the life decision or move is or what have you. But they're looking at inventory going, I'm not going to put my house on the market and do a contingent offer or have to try to juggle how long I can stay in my house or what. I'm just going to wait for inventory to pick up. And so it's funny when I say this, but I think you'll see more inventory come to the market when you see more inventory come to the market, right? So
I get it.
When sellers start to see more homes, I think they're more likely to put their homes on the market. So you're going to see this jump in inventory once you start to see inventory build. But the question is, when's that going to happen?
Yeah.
Because summer, I think this is going to be a year where people, June 15th here in Southern California, or in California in general, right? Masks go away, free party, everything's back to normal. So they say, people are going to want to go on vacations. They're going to want to travel. They're going to want to get out of their houses. They're going to want to do things, go out and spend money, which is going to, help the economy for one. But are people going to sit around and try to go to open houses and do all of that? Maybe they are. I don't know, but I don't know. Yeah. But so as of Thursday or Friday, open houses are now allowed back in the state of California. But I can tell you, driving around, over yesterday and it's early here today, but I only saw 2 open house signs. And I'm obviously paying attention to that. And normally I would see hundreds of open house signs. And now is it a lack of people still wanting people in their homes? Maybe. Is it a lack of agents thinking open houses are really necessary because of, hell, I just sold 30 homes last year. I didn't have to do 1 open house.
That's right. I did all with DocuSign. I'm good.
Yeah. Is it sellers not wanting people in their house? I just think there's a lot of factors in there. And I'm going to argue the fact that I don't think the market's going to have the inventory that quickly. I think it's going to take some time. I don't, inventory might pick up, but I don't know that it's going to pick up enough to change anything.
Yes, that's interesting, because maybe it's just wishful thinking. I don't know what it is, but basically what's happened the last year or so is first-time buyers have really flexed their muscle, right? They're coming out of expensive, top-notch rentals. They're getting backyards, kids, dogs, all of that, garages for their cars. But you're right. It's the move-up buyer, right? The upgrade buyer, whatever you want to call that, the one that would sell one, buy one.
Yep.
That's 2 transactions. That's the piece that's been missing last year. And you're right. If because the move up buyer needs that other place to buy. So if that seller, which they are first, isn't comfortable doing a contingent sell, then it's going to be tough for inventory to come. But if you are a seller and you're like, hey, I'll just make my house contingent on me buying something, or do a lease back or whatever it is. But I think that's going to happen, because I think there's a lot of people in Orange County, just like there's a lot in Mountain View and Palo Alto, another very expensive area, 7-figure houses all over the place. They're like, I need another bedroom.
No,
I don't have a bedroom for my office.
Appreciate that. I mean,
Yeah.
I need another bed. It's I got 3 kids, and me and my wife, and we're in a 3-bedroom house, and we really love our location though. And it's the thing is, like, we're looking for the right property in a
That place.
small, like, what we're looking for is a needle in a haystack, and it'll eventually come up, and that'll be fine. But for now, it is what it is. And so, but my property would not sell, right? I would keep my property and then buy the next one. So it wouldn't be, there wouldn't be more inventory for me purchasing something else.
Yeah.
But it's hard to say, man. I really wish I knew the answers, and, follow a lot of people that I feel like are smarter than me in a lot of ways, and kind of fill the gaps that I don't feel like I have. And, it's, everybody has, everybody's kind of, a lot of people have changed their tune. How's that? So the beginning of this thing, the world was going to end, that the house pricing is going to crash, whatever. And so, I during that time was following, people, and they were like, no, supply is still low. It's, not going to change. And that's kind of the tune I kept. And now a lot of people have come under the idea, well, it's not going to happen now, but it's still going to happen. And so I still don't agree that there's going to be a crash happening.
Just because you're blowing out a balloon doesn't mean it has to pop. You can also just let the air out.
No, right? Exactly. Just a little bit, just to keep things going. Yeah. And that's where the one thing, I don't even remember if we talked about this when we talked last, but my fear, it's not even a fear, but what I don't understand or have a hard time grasping is, the rapid appreciation. And at what point do you exhaust the number of buyers that can pay the prices that we've gotten to? Right. And so
that's the thing to watch. That's historically speaking, and Bruce Norris is the guy that introduced this to me 20 years ago, right? Affordability is the thing that's been proven right for decades. And that's a problem, right? And right now, the market I invest in is still over 40. And if you know affordability, you don't even get worried until it's under 20.
Right. I mean, right now, affordability is still, I know people have a hard time understanding this, but affordability is not a problem.
Yeah, it's not a problem. Yeah. You have 3 factors in affordability, folks. You have price, which again, I hate it when people go, oh, look, it's the same price as last time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What does that mean? Interest rates last time were 6.5. They're 3 1/8 now.
Right.
Do the payment. It's not the same. And oh, by the way, let's not forget the third one is income. What's going to happen out of this crisis is incomes are going to go up. So again, it's that whole thing that measures that together. So 2 questions
and
about
you also have an administration that wants to raise lower end. So it's all going to play into it. Now, does that create inflation? Does that create other problems?
Yes,
potentially, right? It does.
It has to do something.
But is it in the next year or two? Probably not. That's a further conversation. So again, you and I think we come up from a logical perspective, but the thing is, right now there's a lot of emotion, right? There's a lot of emotion in the market for many reasons, because a lot of people suffered last year, and that rightfully so. And a lot of people are upset because they haven't been able to get into the market, or because they were sitting on the sidelines waiting for something to come home, and because they don't agree with what's happening, then everybody else is wrong. And that's what I don't get. Like, you can be wrong, and it's okay. Like,
it happens.
I have people commenting all the time, like, I hope you're here in a year so I can bag on you when you're wrong. I'm like, I'll be here. Like,
that's right.
And if I'm wrong, I'll tell you I was wrong. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Like, it's but
I took a shot. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I want to do right here. One of the things I want to put out there, because I'm predicting this is a national number, and I think we hit this in our interview. I think national inventory levels hit 2 million by the end of July.
All right. And where are we now?
I think we're like we're going to find out Friday, right? But I think we're just over 1 million.
Okay.
Last time I checked. So we're going to talk about your market, which I think you said was Orange County first and then Huntington Beach second. So I'm going to guess it doubles. by
Okay.
July 31st. So that'd be 4,200 for Orange County
Okay.
and 280, call it 300 for Huntington Beach.
Okay.
So we got it on record now.
All
About
right.
2.5 months from now, we'll see what happens.
Okay.
But I am curious, what's a normal market, right? Go back. Do you ever remember what a normal market feels like
I
last
mean,
January?
you know, I don't. To be completely
That's cool.
transparent, right? I mean, I've never really looked at Huntington Beach inventory so much
Okay.
because it's never really been that important, right? There's always been homes and there's always, and
Yeah,
it's never been a problem. I mean, I've followed Orange County inventory for some time.
sure.
Um, and I vaguely remember Huntington Beach being somewhere around 250 to 280 homes
Okay.
was not a balanced market by any means, but
Right.
was one where people could find property and it wasn't like complete scarcity and
Mm.
this craziness that we're having now.
Mhm.
Orange County, I mean, I think at the height of the pandemic, if I remember correctly, I think we were like 10 to 12,000
That'd been what I guessed.
um
Yeah.
at that time. And I think normal for us is somewhere around that four, the number that you threw out, that 4,000 and
Okay.
something over the last couple of years. Now,
Yeah.
we've
Yeah.
also been in a market where supply is not been plentiful during that time either, so I wouldn't
Yeah.
necessarily consider that um normal, but one
Yeah.
where you're going to have a balanced market, buyers, sellers, somewhat equal. I think you need probably 7,
Yeah.
8,000 homes in all of Orange County.
Yeah, that's an important point because again, I'm talking about going from a million to 2 million, but people need to realize that's still not balanced. A normal market for the US is about 3.3 to 3.5, depending on who you follow. So even getting to 2 million is still a seller's market. It's
Oh,
just
right. Yeah.
closer to, it's closer to even, it's kind of
No,
crazy.
and another thing is, people look at inventory one as a balance on the market, sellers, buyers control, but they also look at days on the market, right? So when
Yes.
you get at say, 90 days on market, that then it becomes a buyer's market but
That's true.
we haven't seen that in quite some time.
Mhm.
Whereas right now we're seeing 11, 12 days. I
Yeah.
mean, on the average. So, I mean, you got to think, I mean, that
Yeah.
would require not only inventory coming to the market, but sitting for some period of time. And
For
and I
sure.
I personally think anything that's sitting on the market right now for longer than 15, 20 days is one of two things. It's take the luxury market out of it because
Yeah.
that's a whole different animal. But it either something's wrong with it, right? I mean, bad location because it backs to a freeway or
Mhm.
whatever the reasoning might be. Maybe there's something wrong with the house itself, and or it's overpriced,
Mhm.
because anything that's priced remotely close to fair market value sells for at least fair market value in this market. I mean, the last stats that came out, I think the average here in Orange County was like 101 point something percent was the price to sell ratio, right? So, things were selling over the asking price in most cases. And it's not because everything was underpriced. I think in my market, it's a lot different than the Bay Area where, not that they intentionally underprice homes, but they know that they're going to sell $500,000 over the asking price in some of those cases, but
They
yet
had
they
a
still
million
continue.
dollar one the other day.
Yeah.
A million
That
over at list. Are you
yeah,
kidding me? That's crazy.
See, I don't get, I mean, they know, but they still strategically price it low for whatever reason. In our market, you don't see a lot of that, right? I
Mm.
mean, most homes that I see coming to the market are either priced right or you go, wow, that thing is way
Yeah.
overpriced. And
What are they thinking?
remarkably, some of them sell, and you're like, what in the hell did that, And
Yeah.
I mean, I have that conversation all the time. I'll send something to a buddy. I'm like, hey, look at this one. And so we'll make a bet. Hey, dinner, what do you think it sells for? And crazy enough, some of these things are selling pretty close to the asking price. So
Wow.
it's wild, man.
That's very cool. I guess the last question I have for you,
Yeah.
in the markets you're in, is it mainly just first time buyers or home owners, or are there actually investors looking for rentals and all of that in your market? It's just too
Y-
expensive.
yes. And I mean, the answer is yes, right? I mean, to all of that.
Mm.
Yes, first time home buyers, a lot of move up buyers, right?
Mhm.
But we also get a lot of people relocating from other states here to Southern California and that sort of thing. So you
Mm.
kind of got to mix in who that buyer pool is.
Okay.
But investors, I see a lot of investors not necessarily buying for the long-term game, right?
Okay.
They're looking for the flip opportunities. They're
Got
looking
it.
for the short-term gains on it because coming at Southern California from a cash flow perspective is tough, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I would
when
think
you
so.
have, a buddy of mine just sold, he had a 4 unit building downtown Huntington Beach. And I think they priced it at like 2.5 ish, 4 units, mind you,
Yeah.
sold for 2.7 ish. And I would say the average rent in that building, I don't remember what the landscape was as far as, number of bedrooms, bathrooms, but I think they were probably all like 2.2s.
Okay.
And the average rent in that building's probably, I don't know, 3 grand a pop.
Yeah. So you're
So you
talking
got 12
12
grand
total.
coming
Yeah. No.
out of that building that somebody just paid 2.7 for. And so let's say they're 4 grand a pop.
Yeah.
So it's hard to make those numbers pencil out without a huge down payment.
Yeah.
And most people aren't, walking around with, $1 million in cash to buy property and just let it sit in another property, right?
Yeah.
People, a lot of people want that immediate return. So
Yeah, we see the
yeah,
same thing in the Bay Area. There's not a lot of just traditional buy and hold. There's flippers. There's a fair amount of those taking the old 1950s build and making them
yep.
new. But yeah, the old cash flow investor, it's hard unless you're coming out of a beautiful 1031 and you got some time constraints. That's when you go buy a fourplex that produces, whatever it is.
No,
12%.
absolutely. And I would see that's where the majority of it is, but a lot of people now are starting to see other opportunities out of state, right? They're looking
Oh
at some
yeah,
other markets
for
where they
sure.
can buy 2 or 3 properties for what they could here, and the cash flow is actually better. Now they won't get the appreciation probably, but
Yeah.
in 30 years it'll be paid off, or in 20 or whatever, and the return will be great. So,
Yeah. And then I guess just the last question, I'm sorry, I just came up with this one is, are you seeing a lot of Californians just give up and go, I'm done with this administration, I'm leaving the state?
I would say I wish I had the numbers for you. On average, I probably, before the pandemic and all of that happened, I would probably have 2 to 3 clients a year move out of state for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And I sell on average about 30 homes a year, so
Okay.
nothing crazy, right? I'm a one
Call it
man show,
10%.
10%.
Okay.
I would say out of the last 10 homes I've sold, at least half of them have moved out of state.
Ah, that's
Yeah,
interesting. So I
yeah,
mean, I'm seeing that as well in my circle of friends. And, generally speaking, this circle of friends are higher income professionals. Many of them are
yep,
business owners. And they're like, I'm done. I'm going to pick up my toys and go to Texas or Tennessee
yep,
and
yeah.
Vegas. I mean, I can't tell you how many people went to
I've
Vegas.
got a couple that have recently moved to Idaho, that have
Yeah.
moved to
Idaho, big time.
Arizona,
Yeah.
Texas. I mean, all the states that you hear about. I mean, people are moving out, and some people are just moving, because of life and that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
They,
But
they would have
obviously,
done it
the
anyway.
the
Yeah.
politics and the taxes and a lot of that play into a lot of people's
Yeah.
recent moves for sure.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
going to be interesting, because again, at least in California, last I saw, the top 1% pay 40% of state income tax. If we
Yep.
lose a third of the 1%, good luck middle class making up the difference. I mean, that's
No, it's going to
scary.
be tough. I mean, it'd be curious. And somehow we ended up with a surplus, a $57 billion surplus. Like,
That's a lot of IPO money, man. That's a lot of stock
yeah,
gain.
like, well, where did that come from? But
That'd
anyway,
be the
that's a whole
Silicon
other
Valley right there,
conversation.
buddy.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's
exactly.
that's tech stocks. Crazy. Well, do me a favor, Jeb. How can people follow you? Because again, I watch your channel. You put out amazing stuff. Where do you want them to go?
No, just search my name on YouTube. That's, again, where I put most of the information out there. And from there you could link to everything else. So that's probably the best place.
And if somebody wanted to buy something in Southern California or Huntington Beach or Orange County, do you want them to go there? Or do you want them a phone number, email? What do you want?
You can check out my website, right? Jeb Smith, so name.net. Go there. All my information's there. You can email me, send me a text, whatever works for you, and happy to have that conversation and help guide you in the right direction.
Very cool. Do yourself a favor. You're looking to buy down there, reach out to Jeb Smith. Thanks, buddy.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, man.
Uh-huh.